Good to go.
This is Scott Simpson. I'm calling the Waldoboro Planning Board to order on Wednesday, June 9th. We have a quorum. We have Jim Russo, Johnny Cosnow, Jeffrey Erskine, and myself. We also have our Director of Planning, Max Johnstone, and our Trustee Secretary, Susan Alexander. I would like to, are there any adjustments to the agenda before we start? There being none, are there any, I noticed that there are some very tiny citizenry there that I can't see people. I can see that there are people in the audience, but it's a very small picture. Are there any, but then try to get Max's attention when it's time for individuals to speak. Are there any citizen comments apart from the applications for today?
I believe everyone here is for the agenda items, correct? Yep.
Okay. And I don't see any signals from anybody on screen, so we will move forward. There aren't any pre-applications today, are there, Max?
Nope.
Okay, so we will move on to site plan applications. First on the agenda is Failer's Corner and Simon Roads. And I believe that's going to be presented by Dvorsky, is that correct?
Yes. Dusty Star was going to be the one to present it, but I got an email from him, I believe yesterday, saying that he had a commitment he had to go to. So I think Bill Lane is doing that for him tonight. But okay. Richard's also here. So Richard, yes. You can go ahead and start.
Oh, Mr. Hunt, sorry. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it to Bill. I'm having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
So he's got all the details.
So good evening, and thank you very much, Richard. I'm Bill Lane from Dvorsky Engineering and Surveying. Thanks for allowing us to present before you tonight. I am in place of Dusty Starr, who is unavailable tonight and has been reviewed at your May 12th meeting. This is a proposal to create a one-lot subdivision, being that Mr. and Mrs. Herman purchased a 17.3 acre parcel from a larger parcel from the Gervais estate about a year ago. And so to create another parcel, which is the proposal before you tonight, it is technically the review as a subdivision of the one parcel to be created. Would folks prefer that I share my screen, or how are folks seeing things?
What are you going to be showing us?
Well, I was just going to put up the subdivision map if that's of interest. Otherwise, I can just try and just rattle on through it narratively.
We've got, do all the board members, I have a nice copy full size of the map that would be a lot easier to see in front of me than it would on the screen. So
okay. Well,
let me just ask the rest of the board members if they have it, and are they okay with the map that they have? I'm getting a thumbs up.
Very well.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah.
So the existing parcel has frontage on Simon Road and Failer's Corner Road. The proposed parcel to be created would be in the kind of southeast corner of the property and would have frontage along Failer's Road to the extent of 476 feet. The proposed parcel would be 4.02 acres, so well in excess of the required 80,000 square feet for the rural district. What's different on the plan compared to what you were shown at the pre-application is wetlands have been depicted on the plan and a test pit location. It's my understanding from a conversation with Dusty Starr that the test pit information came as a follow-on to the initial submission. So I just want to make sure that everybody does have the June 2nd letter from soil scientist Natalie Marceau, who wrote a letter and provided a test pit indicating that there's adequate soils on the property for a first-time disposal system. I believe, as you folks had reviewed last time, this is simply the creation of a lot, does not require other infrastructure, no new road construction to provide the development footprint that is simply the lot, and it would gain its frontage from Fairley Corner Road, is an adequate lot in terms of the performance standards of the district. And happy to answer any questions you may have.
I didn't have any questions. It was quite a lot of fences in the description of the property from the survey. But other than wading through that, it was pretty straightforward.
One
How-
question.
Go ahead, Jim.
Scott.
No, you
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, the one question I have is looking at it between what's probably a creek or something that runs across the property towards the back and that northeast corner, that's all wetlands. Is it a buildable lot? Is there enough land left to actually be usable?
Indeed, there are. So the wetland area, the consequential amount of wetlands is in the southeast corner of the proposed lot. And there is a very small thread of wetlands that traverses the lot west to east as well along its north alignment, but there is an adequate land area to develop a housing site for sure.
Yeah, that the green line that's there, I'm not really sure what that reflects other than a drainage from the pond area, but there's no running water through it. So I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it was characterized to me as just a area that qualifies as wetlands. It does not have a stream on it, so there's no NRPA stream setback requirements particular to it. The narrowest portion of the lot, as you traverse it from presumably the curb cut along the road in the upland, is in excess of 115 feet. So there's plenty of opportunity to access the parcel without actually even entering the wetlands. And these are forested wetlands. The DEP does regulate them, but only it would only require a permit actually after the first 4,300 square feet of alteration. So it's a developable parcel.
So did I catch you correctly that if going from the southernmost corner there and up along that boundary, the closest that wetlands section gets to that boundary is 115 feet? Is that what you were saying?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
So we have a septic system design?
There's a test pit, not a full design, because there's
Okay.
no selected home size yet. But there, as a requisite for subdivision review, a single test pit is required to demonstrate that there's an adequate soil characteristic to have a first-time system built on the property.
Everyone had a chance to look through this. Are there any other questions on this?
Not for me.
Max, you said that you alerted us that you have a copy of that soil evaluation, correct?
Yes, I believe I sent that as an email to everyone.
Yes.
That's correct, yep.
Yep. So
Okay.
it's going to be included with the document when it's put in the site plan file.
Okay. No other questions or comments from the board members?
Straightforward.
I would like to entertain a motion from someone to approve this application for Fayla's Corner.
Moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Barbara. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
That's
Motion
5-0.
carried. Motion carried. You are set.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Sure.
time this evening.
Thank you for a complete application and a nice map.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Good
Have a
luck.
Welcome, Richard. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
All right.
Johnny? Johnny? Johnny, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I was just checking because sometimes I have trouble hearing you and I could hear you quite clearly just then. So I was just checking.
Okay. Yep.
Great.
Oh, what's
Thanks,
going on?
Max, that's a big improvement in the system. So, and I didn't attend the last meeting, so I didn't get to appreciate it as I do now. Great. Next on the agenda is the subdivision amendment for Apple Barn Lane.
So for this one, I take it Alan is on Zoom and he will be talking about that one.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. So Alan Matheson here, Coastal Land Surveying, and just wanted, this would be the final submittal for Apple Barn subdivision, the amendment of a 12-acre lot. And I had forwarded along some additional information, and just outlining the purpose and the project location, the description and the compliance. And I don't know if Max, was that distributed out?
I believe so. I was looking for soil information, which I believe was sent out to the members.
Yep.
And the written document for waivers was about this being the last one, and receiving permission from the current owner, who is Fred Bess. I don't know. Did I forward that email to everyone?
There was in one of your emails, Max, was that Mr. Bess had.
Okay. All right. In that case, I did get that and I did send it out.
So, so again, we've supplied those requests, and I think we've addressed all of them in a complete manner. And if anybody had questions, and we're open to receive.
So I just want to make sure, are there any, and there was quite a bit of comments in, along with the ordinance items. And I just want to make sure, are there any, what if any waivers there are that you're requesting? I just want to make sure I've got those captured.
So I did supply an attachment to the document, an SDS sheet I call the supplemental data sheet, and
Yep.
it did request the specific waivers based on an existing subdivision, and for those, of course, to be reviewed. I wasn't sure. Max, was that sent out as well?
I thought I sent everything out as I received it, but I don't.
Right, and I've gone through all the information. What I'm trying to get at is, out of that, is there a clear, concise description of any waivers.
Um,
Alan, he's asking like 12.81 through 12. Are you asking for any of those to be waived? Which I don't think so.
Not waived, but assumed to be already complied with.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
It's sort of what I'm just trying to say, like, if we're going to make a motion one way or the other, if we're going to end up there, and
Sure.
there are any waivers, if they're not, we have to make sure that there's included. I didn't capture anything, but I just want
Right.
to make sure.
yes, no specific waivers that would void the compliance per the land use ordinances.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the primary item that I see here, and I just want to make sure it's clear to everyone, is related to the restrictive covenants for the previous subdivisions on Apple Barn Lane, which, so, because I think when you came before the first time, we had some questions about that, what was in the agreement, and that the previous purchases of the original lots along Apple Barn Lane had signed on for. Correct?
Correct. And this lot will comply with all of the restrictive covenants that the existing lots of Apple Barn currently are restricted by, with the exception that due to the size of this lot, it can be further divided in the future. Because it's 12 acres, it's greatly exceeds the minimum lot size. So as down the road comes, the landowner would have the ability to further subdivide it, but of course, only after, municipal review, similar to what this process is today. So in all cases, all subdivisions, any modification or revision to a current subdivision does need to go through municipal review. So it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Scott, do you mind if I ask a question?
Well, right ahead.
I probably should have asked this one a while ago. Maybe I did and I just forgot the answer. Was there a reason that this wasn't just subdivided right now? Like, could it not have just been, instead of one lot of 12, why not just create the 3 lots right now?
Well, then by state statute, as soon as you create a second division line, by the state statute, that deems a subdivision has occurred. So where we are split, so that's the short answer of the question. So if the client came forward and said, yes, we'd like to simultaneously create 3 lots, then it would be treated as a subdivision, which is a bit, it should be more restrictive than an amendment to a subdivision. So an amendment to a subdivision will have there's less work involved. If you create 3 lots simultaneously, then you may have to have road and infrastructure improvements drafted out. But where this is a single lot revision, the standards, there are less standards that need to be complied with.
All right.
Yeah, I guess that leads to the concern that we talked about last time, which was just going at this piecemeal each time.
Yeah.
is kind of doing an end run and flanking the way the way the legislation is designed in terms of the ordinances relative to subdivisions.
Yeah, there's two different statutes. One is the statute that applies to subdivisions, and then there is a second statute that applies to revisions. So you can add, well, for instance, a revision to a law, or excuse me, a revision to a subdivision may include relocating the road for whatever reason. So that gives the public the ability to modify and revise the current subdivision, again, only through municipal review.
Scott, my recollection too, from the last time we met on this, was that the owners have some idea of what they want to do, but they haven't fully gelled that idea. So I think they're just kicking a can down the road until they have a better idea of exactly what use they want to make of the property.
Yeah. Fair enough. So relative to that, go ahead, Barbara.
I have a question. So when those 3 lots are created, do they use that 50-foot easement to access the 3 lots? Is that part of the road future road system, or is that part of what has to be designed into it?
I'm seeing some head nods in the audience. Yes. The 50-foot easement is going to be used for the road, or access, I should say. Yes.
Okay, it seems very specific for to be access to Fred Bess's land, but anyway, I guess that's your problem to straighten out before you go
Right.
ahead.
Right.
Right.
So again, my only issue again relates to item number 7 of the covenants of the Apple Barn subdivision. And I'm just relaying what Max has included here, is that that prohibition is a private covenant, and that the planning board is merely approving or not based on the compliance of this application with the land use ordinance, and not without respect to any private covenants that might exist between the landowners. Is that fair, Max?
That's correct. This is similar to back in January when we were talking about the road maintenance agreement for Controversy Lane. The actual contents of a private agreement is something that the planning board doesn't really have control over. That's something that's just dealt with between the private property owners. In fact, there was another case that I was just dealing with a while ago where someone said that the town's not allowed to give a building permit out for a certain building that's going to be put in because it goes against what the private road association has in their agreements. And for this specific item, they said, well, the board is only focused, or the code enforcement officer is only focused on what the land use ordinance says and what the town says. If a neighbor doesn't like that this goes against what the private agreement says, then it's up to the neighbor or the subdivision developer to enforce that item. So in this case, the neighborhood of Apple Barn Lane would have to come out and say, hey, this is against our covenant, and then they take the action from there.
Yeah.
They've all been informed and nobody has weighed in, Max, is that correct?
I sent letters out the usual time, and neighbors received them. I haven't heard anything.
And so I believe, so those restrictive covenants would apply to the existing lots, and may I don't believe they would restrict remaining property of Fred Best. If they did, it would restrict a landowner to do anything with his property in this particular case, right? The pub and even another example, if you or I wanted to divide a piece of property, and it was there was a restrictive covenants as to an adjoining subdivision, it wouldn't be fair to the remainder of the public. So that covenants is particular to the existing lots, not to this lot in particular.
Alan, that's everything you said is correct in terms of the remaining land.
Yep.
It can be broken up again into more pieces, but if this lot is becoming part of Apple Barn Lane, then it is bound by the covenants as soon as it's created.
Well, and then that's why Fred Best would permit the exception of item 7, where he is the key holder. He would have the option to further restrict his remaining property for further restrictions.
Yeah, since the access to that property is only by way of Apple Barn Lane, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, it's not, the restrictive covenants isn't in place to further restrict adjoining property. It's for the specific lots. And the exception would be from the current property owner who has the fee title.
So who is Mr. Best then still the principal in charge of the homeowners association or the road association, or has that been turned over to the owners of the lots?
That should be turned over to the existing lot owners.
Could be or has been. Sorry to be a.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. So the road association was required to be developed by the existing lot owners. And so therefore they're the ones that will pay for the road maintenance. So they're the ones that maintain the roadway. And they should have an association meetings yearly and annually, but I haven't researched or investigated their meetings. But Fred Best would be should have the fee title to the land under the road. But it's the road association, the existing lot owners that maintain that roadway.
Don't they also have a say on a new lot being added and whether or not all the covenants apply to it? I mean, I could see if Mr. Best still had full control of the whole subdivision and the road maintenance, that he can do what he wants with the other lots. But if that's not the case and the road owners association has governance, if you will, of the road and its use,
right,
then they have a say on the further subdivision.
Right, and that was the purpose of the public hearing, the letters that were sent out to all the existing lot owners. For any objection to be made, that was a notice provided. And if everyone's remained silent, it's therefore recognized by law that they have no objection.
Well,
how explicit was it in what was sent out that this exception to the covenants was being made?
I was going to say the only letter that was sent out was simply saying that the subdivision amendment is being proposed at the planning board. And as I said earlier, if the neighborhood, what the planning board's talking about tonight is just the land use ordinance. It's not talking, it doesn't really have too much say over the covenant itself. So if the road association next week says, well, we want to talk more about this, that's up to the road association to then talk with Fred Best about that. I wouldn't say that this is an acknowledgement of them saying they're fine. I would suggest speaking with the road association directly. I wouldn't put the planning board as the no answer means it's a positive, or I wouldn't say that.
So then it would probably be on the onus of the members of the road association to make a vote. But we don't have any knowledge of their the members in their meetings.
Well, I would say for the moment that we're fortunate that the planning board does not have to resolve this legal question.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
we can propose that it's only accepted on a conditional approval, and that condition be that we have some evidence submitted by the road association that there's not an issue. I feel and I sense that may be the question, that we don't want ourselves putting in a bad position, or so I believe that's probably what would make us all feel comfortable. We had some sort of acknowledgement from the road association members.
Well, what I'll clarify is that the private covenant isn't something the planning board should be dealing with.
Right.
That's something that shouldn't be a condition, because at that point, then it does become a town issue. We're just simply saying whether or not the lot itself can be created, take out the covenant. So that doesn't really have to be a condition that needs to be set, but I also saw a hand in the audience.
Yeah,
Sure.
'cause my wife and Michelle are working on trying to get access to this property for Fred Best through
Okay.
our attorney, and we've approached everybody there with a letter.
Okay.
So that's
And
being
then-
worked on.
We will be going back to get the signatures. So we figured we'd give them a couple weeks to read the letter, think about it. And then we did tell them we would be coming back to see if they would sign.
Okay.
So is the meaning of that, excuse me, is that this lot would be joining the road association?
Yeah.
Yes.
We will be joining.
Okay, thank you.
And just from left to right, I'm sorry, just because
I'm Erica Jo Hanks.
Erica,
I'm Alfred Hinks.
Alfred,
Michelle Rollerson.
Michelle Rollerson,
I'm Dana Rollison Jr.
Dana Rollerson Jr. All right. Just for the minutes.
Thank you. So are there any other questions or comments from the board members? And then I'll open it up again to the audience in just a sec.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have missed that last bit that Max was sharing. My computer's got this nasty habit of crashing every 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, I can try to summarize. I believe that the incoming owners of this lot that's going to be subdivided have sent a letter and are working with the road association separately on joining the association and alerting them to this. So they're in the process of working on resolving this, getting this wrapped up.
I guess I'm not, I understand the distinction between what the planning board is responsible to enforce and what it isn't responsible to enforce. But if it is, I think it's also important that we make sure that all the members of the subdivision know if the rules are being changed, and in addition to their subdivision, that they're aware of it. I mean, and I have the feeling here that not intentionally, but it just sort of submarined a little bit, that they're going to notice that there's going to be a subdivision, but I don't know that it was explicit on Article 7. And I think that's an important exception that they should be fully aware of. But is that what was sent to them?
Well, the notice that I can't speak for what you did. What I send is the same letter that I send to anyone who's getting a site plan review.
Sure.
It essentially says, well, it gives my title, gives the time and all that. And it says, this address, or in this case, this lot number is being proposed to be subdivided or amended to be subdivided. This is when the planning board is meeting. You can find the documents online, or you can contact me for the application. And I also add a little disclaimer at the bottom that says it only goes to people who physically abut the properties, or in the subdivision's case, I send it to everyone who's in the subdivision. for obvious reasons. And I only send it to the abutters. I don't get it to everyone. So if there's an abutter who knows of someone who wants to go to the meeting, it's important that that abutter notifies the person, because I don't know every single person who was interested in this project.
But
But it did not mention anything of the covenant, because as I said, that's a private agreement that needs to be handled by, in this case, Erica Joe, who's the applicant, and the road association.
could I ask the applicant, since Jim missed it, could I ask the applicant again, just briefly describe what their communication was with the current Apple Barn subdivision owners?
Our attorney sent out a letter informing them that we wanted an easement to the lot. And so that's what we're working on, and figure out where we need to court or where we need to go with that legal part, I guess.
Okay. Did everyone hear that?
No.
100%.
All right. So I'll repeat it then. The attorney who's working with the applicant sent out a letter to all the people in the subdivision.
We hand delivered it.
It was hand delivered
Yes,
to all the people, saying that they wanted to use the easement access, and they just wanted to be sure that this was something that everyone in the subdivision was comfortable and fine with.
So there was no mention then in that letter that the new lot would not be held by covenant 7 that's in all of their deeds, that it could be subdivided.
I don't believe so, was it?
No.
No.
That's future stuff. I mean, we're not
Right.
planning on doing it till if we do anything.
Okay. I think that just gets back into sort of what Alan was saying a bit earlier, where he was saying that the lot wouldn't fall under this if it's remaining land. And I'm getting to the point of, well, and as I said earlier, it is in a private agreement that the lot owners themselves would have to take up with. I could certainly send out a letter of notice just saying that this was approved, but only for what is in the land use ordinance.
Also, I think for clarification, we can ask Jim's question to town council and have a legal understanding as to what the obligation is or is not. And I think that would be, a good solution, because I think Jim has a concern, the question, and if we had a solid answer from the town council's perspective, I think it is ultimately what would satisfy. Jim, is that something?
Well, Alan, yes and no. I understand what you're saying, and it's a good idea. But we would get the legal perspective, and we probably get what Max is giving us that tells us what the laws say and the regulations and et cetera.
Right.
I'm trying to do the right thing for the residents of the town and the residents of the subdivision, just to be transparent. Guys, this is the one significant item that we found that you need to be aware of, and nobody's told you about it. And if I live there, that's what I would want to know, because otherwise they're going to find out 3 years from now when we go to subdivide, or when you go to subdivide that lot, and they'll say, wait a second, where does that come from? They're part of the subdivision. We can't subdivide. How come they can? Why was this approved? And we're just kicking the can down the road.
Well,
It doesn't make sense to do that if we can answer it now and just get it all above board,
Right.
transparent for everybody to see.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and a bit on, so we know the existing lots cannot subdivide or further subdivide because of their, they currently meet the minimum acreage. So they would be in violation of land use ordinances. That's just something to weigh in.
Yeah.
But
So my take on this is, if I were, because the Maine Municipal Association has already weighed in on the issue between private agreements and what the planning board is doing, which is approving relative to the land use ordinance. What I think Jim is properly getting at is just worrying about how the other landowners might react to this down the road. If I would just say, if I were the town attorney, I wouldn't answer your question because, again, it's an issue between the private parties. It's not, and we already understand what the planning board's authority is here, that it really is among the private property owners and that, you know, Apple Barn Association to resolve. So, but I do think that the applicant is, you know, through council contacting the subdivision owners and trying to work on this. I do agree with Jim's point that the more information that they have, that there's a future potential to subdivide, because if it does come back again, you know, being a surprise, may not go over very well. So I don't know if that's a good summary or not, but I'm open to any other questions or comments from the board.
I actually have a hand up in the audience.
Okay, I'll go to the audience in just a second. I just want to make sure that Johnny and Jeffrey and Barbara, and if Jim has anything else, there's any other questions or comments before we forward. I think most of the other things relative to the LUO are relatively clear. Barbara, you were not?
No, I'm all set. I just don't think we can speculate what anything's going to happen in the future. So that's, you know, I think we can only deal with what's in front of us today. So.
Anything, Johnny? You okay, Johnny?
Yeah, I just think I like the point about transparency and having everybody having everything above board and everybody knowing, you know, what the situation is.
Okay. So there was someone in the audience, Max, could you help me out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when my wife and Michelle walked around and talked to these people, they were told by word of mouth that in the future, this was going to be divided between the family. So it's just not in writing, but they were told by word of mouth that this will be 3 lots, but it's all staying within our family.
And they were all fine with it, but should we put it in writing? So they have something in writing versus just verbally explaining what the plan is?
I
Properly address it, yes, it should be in writing if there's a question to be answered.
Yeah, the planning board, the planning board has to stay away from legal advice, I think.
Yeah, that's why I have to be quiet right now.
But I just wanted to make the statement that these people were aware of that eventually this divided between the family.
Great. Well, we appreciate you letting us know that, and that's good news as far as I'm concerned. You weren't obligated to tell us that, but we appreciate it.
Personally speaking, whenever I've ever had to handle any business, I always say having it in writing is always a good idea because it's better for record keeping. You always have a copy. If someone ever says or ever doubts it, you can show them up and say, this is the date and time, you're all good, and then walk away easily. So I always advise getting anything in writing whenever you can. Not necessarily people signing off, but yeah. I know.
I just didn't like the thought of everybody saying we're kicking it down the road when we're trying to be upfront and honest with everybody.
Right.
Yep.
And I think this was just an odd item that we came across in the covenant that I think it's more we get to kick the can down the road because it's not something the planning board has to deal with.
So, anything else from anyone on this topic? Then I would like to entertain a motion to approve this application for Apple Barn Lane.
I motion to approve it as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify approval. All opposed, motion carried.
Who was the second, please, Mr.
Was
Chairman?
that, I think it was Johnny. Was it Johnny?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, you are approved. Thank you, applicants and Alan, for your help with getting this to us, and good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. As they say in the biz, thank you very next.
You don't have to worry about the chairs. You could just leave them. Have a nice night.
We're losing our audience there. Oh my God.
I know. You want to just come up to the table because you'll have the mic here?
Over there?
Yeah, you can come up if you want.
Yeah, where shall I sit?
You could sit here. You can drag a chair up. Do whatever you want. Or you could
I'll sit.
you could sit at the desk. You can have a desk all to yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll adjust the camera then.
Okay. So, we would like to talk about 30 Manktown Road, Janice Cormier Hay Recreational Facility application. So do you have any, where did Max go? Oh, there, he's adjusting the camera. Okay. So did you have any, you are Janice, I'm led to believe.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Could you, do you have any introductory comments you would like to make?
Well, what I am proposing is adding a 30 by 30 addition to the current building that is there. 5 years ago, I was here with this application to put a 30 by 40 addition onto a little building that was on the property, and we did that. And now we're trying to expand it another 30 feet.
Okay. So that indicates that things are going well, that you need to expand. Is that correct?
Yes, they're, in spite of things, we're holding on and we're doing well.
Good, okay. And you can see from the map. So this is a whole lot away from the road, like from Manktown Road, this is a long driveway, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not visible from the road. I would like to open this up to any questions or comments from the board members.
Scott, just a correction.
Yes.
It is a long driveway. It can be seen from Manktown Road just because
Okay.
there's not that many trees and whatnot.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to have said that then.
Oh no, it's I made the same assumption before I did a site walk there.
Well, and I've driven by and I've never noticed it. So, but that we're not gonna, my observational capabilities.
I think it's the glasses. I think the glasses are making us blind or something.
I'll make sure I don't add neon lights. But it is, people do not see it. Well, they do see it. They see the sign.
Yeah, I see the sign, and that's.
But not, the building is, for a large building, is pretty inconspicuous.
I was about to say, I almost just completely just forgot about the building until I actually got onto the site. In plain sight, pretty much.
So go ahead.
Yep. What's the total acreage and what percentage lot coverage do we have if this building goes forward? Max, do you have that somewhere?
Yes. Oh shoot, I didn't put down the percentage. It's 4.5 acres with 0.13 of those acres being developed if this is done. So I will get a calculator.
That's not much. Okay.
So that's 3%
Yeah. Okay.
developed.
Okay.
Well, so
I've
out of
got a-
this, go ahead, Jim.
I'm looking at the site plan as part of the application. And I'm looking at the satellite view of the property. And it looks like the addition is already there. So there's two offset buildings right where the studio is. So I'm confused on what we're looking at.
No, you're just looking at the building that was put up 5 years ago. There was an existing building on the property that was 29 by 29. It was a fitness studio. And to that building, I added 30 by 40. And
So
then
what's
what
on, so what's showing on this as a proposed studio is actually,
is the proposed addition. Is that what?
sorry, I thought you just said that's the one you put, this, it shows 30 by
sorry.
40, the one you did 5 years ago.
Let me see what you're looking at.
Because on the site plan, what should be on the site plan, it's based on the map that was used back in 2017. The black box is what is there now.
Yes,
And then the red addition
is the proposed
one
addition.
Yep.
that will be in sync with it.
So it's,
Yeah,
it's
that makes sense.
eventually
Okay,
three buildings.
okay, I gotta come forward a page. Okay.
Yeah, I think looking back and forth that between the old one and the new one.
Because the old one proposed, right, that's the old one. That was done. And then on the second one, the color one, it's the black, the one that was done from before. Yeah, that jives.
Right, and the red is the new proposal.
Yeah.
My only, now that I understand it better and saw all the pages, it doesn't look like you're gonna be able to stay 30 feet away. Is there any reason why you wouldn't offset this addition like you did the other addition to maintain the 30-foot setback?
Well, because, number one, it wouldn't compromise the building, but it would be more costly. It wouldn't be a straight shootout. You'd lose space by moving it over a bit. So when I realized we had that situation, I spoke with my neighbors and I asked them if there was a way we could resolve this, and they said yes. And they would grant me an easement if I would put up a 6-foot stockade fence. From the property line, we have a horse hitch and then the property marker. And I am fully in agreement with that. And so I have it signed and notarized here. I just sent you the first proposed letter, and we added a bit that will grant an easement for this. And then we signed it. So it's Richard and Linda Vanna.
Max, is that an agreeable solution?
Yeah, I actually had a similar email from someone earlier asking about this. Back in 2019, there was a similar case we had with Moody's Diner when they were making an expansion, and they couldn't address the setback requirement, but they obviously knew the neighbor right next to them who could give them some additional land or grant the easement so that they could meet the setback requirement. So even though they didn't have the land necessary at the meeting, they were working with their attorneys to address it in the deeds to have that required setback.
So essentially, the Vannas would give a 5 or 10-foot easement along their west property line, whatever it takes. And in return for that, you'd put up a fence to give them some privacy along the existing property line, I imagine.
Yes, exactly.
It's acceptable to the town and the land use ordinance, so there's no, I don't think individuals on their own can reset the setback requirements that the town's established, but going at it this way, is an acceptable manner.
And Max, an easement is just as acceptable as selling a small section of the property, is that correct?
It is. I did not get a response from the attorney, but I will get that confirmed and follow up with Janice if they need to do more.
Okay.
But just having that signed letter from the neighbors is way more than I usually get for people. And the fact that she got it, when did I need you to get that? It was like last week or something.
Yes.
You are a great applicant. Have I told you that?
So how much easement do you need? How close is that building going to be to the boundary? That actual number?
I don't have the actual number, but I think because the first building was built a little off the line, when he built his, I had to originally, the second building that I put on, I had to move over 30, let's see. I had to move it over and not align it with the building in order to make the easement the first time. And I thought I had done it all the way. I built 40 feet, but I thought I had ability to build 60 and then when I remeasured, it wasn't. So I do believe as we go up that line, it'll be more of 27 feet at the corner, at the back corner.
Okay. Right. And the fence that you're committing to put is actually going to be on the property line itself?
I think that wherever they want it. If they want it on my side, it goes on my side. If they want it on their side, whatever makes them happy. It goes from the horse stitch to the marker.
Okay.
They're really good neighbors.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this application? So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the 30 Manktown Road application contingent on the legally binding easement agreement and confirmation by the town attorney.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And is there a second?
I'll second that.
I
Barbara?
second, yeah.
Oh, and Barbara also seconded, 2 seconds. Is the wording of that motion okay, Max?
Approve. I have motion to approve based on clarification of property bound. I know it's not exactly what you said, but based on clarification of property boundaries and easement rules.
Okay.
But we can go with what Susan has written down.
Okay.
Susan's bewildered.
Okay. We'll get it.
I haven't got it.
Okay. When I said the motion that got made and seconded, I said that we would approve the 30 Manktown Road application contingent on the legally binding easement agreement and confirmation by the town attorney that agreement is sufficient.
Agreement to the attorney agrees it is binding.
Do we need the town attorney to weigh in on this?
I usually speak with Maine Municipal Association's legal department.
That's fine too.
Yeah.
I would consider that equivalent.
Okay.
We probably don't, Barb. We could probably just approve it based on, the letter that she's got, that she's given Max a copy, but.
I think the real question is whether or not an easement, that we know if you bought the 3-foot strip of land, then there's no question. The question I think we have is an easement as good as transferring the ownership of
the land?
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
That's a good question to have answered.
Yep. Yeah, we should know that answer anyway for the future. It's going to help us regardless to have some experience with that. So
And as I said, if it does turn out it needs to be a land transfer, then I will bring that up and is that something that you would have to come back to the board, or could they just handle the land agreements on their own?
Oh, yeah, I think they can handle that. This approval is contingent on that being okay. That's all. So I would
Okay.
think, all right, yeah. Any other questions or comments on this?
No?
Motion being made and seconded, and then being no more questions. All those in favor signify aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried.
Who were the maker and seconder, please?
The
Mr.
maker
Finn?
was Jeffrey, and the seconder was
You had 2 seconds.
Tim and Barbara.
Okay. I'll say Jeff and Barbara because we don't need 2 seconds. Is that all
Okay,
right?
we don't. Great, so Janice, you are all set.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks very much.
that answer.
Yes.
Great.
Janice
Yes.
will see you in 2 years for another edition.
Thank you very much. I
It's a good
have
thing
no
the Vannas have a big lot.
Yeah. Well, it is definitely nice to see stuff happening. That is really,
Well, it's actually funny. I think I mentioned this when I did my site walk, but this was actually an application right before I came to Waldeboro.
oh,
Back in 2017,
Yeah.
this board approved the first expansion on the building a month before I got here.
wow.
Oh,
Excellent.
So I don't know what that says about me next month.
no.
Well, what it says is that we even without you here, we sometimes got something done.
No, I'm worried that I'm being replaced in a month now.
Don't do that.
Don't say that. Okay. Thank you, Janice. Now we are on to other board business.
Great. Okay, so I'll hear from you soon.
Yep, I'll send you an email about the post work.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
So that.
That's
So minutes, we have the minutes of the May 12th meeting, which I have Barbara's edits to that. So I assume that has that been sent to everybody with those changes, Max?
I did not send out any minutes amendments to anyone. I don't
Okay.
think I did.
Okay. So while we still have Jim, hopefully we can do this because I was not there.
I just had one small change that I was late getting to Susan. And that's on the vote for the farmer's market.
Yep.
Third line where it reads to close 30 minutes after sunset.
Mm-hmm.
I think the intent was that it closed no later than 30 minutes after sunset to make sure in the fall that they're not open when it's dark. But their
Yep.
plans are to go from 3 to 6, I think it was.
Gotcha.
You're in the vote of the motion, and what do you want that change to be? No later than 30 minutes after sunset?
To close no later than 30 minutes after sunset. Just insert the words no later than.
And who is speaking, please?
Jim.
That's Jim.
Jim, okay.
Jim, yep.
Now Barbara had a change.
I did, and I'm hoping you can maybe read it because I don't have it in front of me, Susan.
I don't have it either.
I can read it.
Okay.
So this is at the bottom of page 1. The very last line here says, planning board members had questions. This is a commercial use of a residential property.
Yes.
Does everyone have that?
Yes.
Okay. And then Barbara, you're inserting this section, is that correct?
I'm gonna,
Or did you edit it?
Highlighted.
Okay. So what I have in highlighted or whatever is Boardman asks, so this is going to be added or changed, and Susan, we can send this to you. You don't have to take this down now. If we approve it, we've got this language and you can make the change. It
Okay.
says, so planning board members had questions. This is a commercial use of a residential property. Boardman asks Johnstone if Lakin and Foley should sell the farm. Does the permit for a farmer's market stay with the farm? Johnstone states that approvals have been interpreted both ways. Yes, the approval stays with the property, or no, a new application is required when a property changes hands. Boardman suggests this permit approval would be best if it stayed with the current applicants for this property. And
I'm
then,
sure I have that written down someplace. I just don't have it in front of me now.
that's fine. And then it goes, the rest of the paragraph is as it is. Johnstone said that if the commercial use is discontinued for over a year, the owners might have to come in for a new permit to resume the use.
Sounds about right. Because it turns out that nobody was an authority on that on that question. Certainly not me. And I'd asked Max. Max came back with both possible answers. So anyway, I wanted to stay away from me being the authority on that.
Oh, we've lost Jim. Rats.
Yeah, it's probably just a computer thing. He'll probably be back on
Well,
just a
I hope
sec.
he said he had a hard stop at 7:15 and we can't improve we don't have, I guess, is it okay for the 3 members? Is
It's
that
7:09.
constitute enough
There's
people
4
to
of you.
vote to approve yeah, but I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't vote.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting. I was just happy to hear 4 out of 7. So that's.
Oh, he's coming
There he
back.
is. All right, quickly.
So,
Any other notes?
while we still have Jim, can I have a motion to accept these minutes as modified?
I motion we accept the minutes as modified.
Is there a second?
I just came back, so I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, no opposed, but I'm abstaining because I wasn't there, Susan. So everyone else voted
Okay.
in favor. So the minutes are approved. Perfect. I think we have some old business things. And I have some things. I guess I'll keep those put those under. Well, before we lose Jim, I don't know if you talked about it this last time, but I just wanted to acknowledge Susan's award from the Land Trust, which I thought was very cool. So you didn't talk about that. Congratulations, Susan.
Thank you very much.
The other thing I'll save this other. Well, I did want to bring up.
This can be comments from planning board members now if you want, just in case Jim has anything.
Yeah, okay, because, well, Jim might want to weigh in on different meeting time. That might be, let's just go to there.
Okay.
Different meeting time, day.
So
What are our options?
pretty much, I think it can be any Monday except the first Monday. It could be the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and it could be the 2nd or 4th Thursday of the month. Or you could do Fridays as well, but I think I'll resign if you pick the Friday.
Well, then we won't do that. You'd set your next month in stone there. I don't like Monday or Friday, but I'm ambivalent to the 3rd Tuesday or the 2nd or 4th Thursday.
Yeah, according to the minutes, I think the 2nd Thursday was being talked about a bit, but I didn't.
It's the closest to what we're doing now, since we do the 2nd Wednesday, the 2nd Thursday.
That's fine with me. 2nd Thursday's fine with me.
Jeffrey and Johnny, do you guys care? Is it you okay?
I'm fine with the 2nd Thursday.
Second Thursday.
Thursday.
Second
We're gonna talk
Thursday.
about second Tuesday. I can do that. I can do second Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Could I
And
ask why we are even discussing this? Has somebody objected to the current
Yeah.
meeting date?
Yeah,
And is that
Wednesday,
person Present?
Susan, when we switch to in-person, the conference room is going to be occupied on Wednesdays by the fire
Oh.
department because of the renovations.
Yep.
Okay,
And
So
in fact,
Jim, did you say you preferred the second Tuesday?
No, I thought that's what we were leaning towards, but
Oh, okay.
Thursday is
Well-
just as good for me.
Second
Tuesday is the select board.
Well, then
Oh, so it doesn't work anyway. Okay.
Okay, third
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Third Tuesday could work.
Thursday. No, I'm okay
Okay.
with Thursday.
Okay,
I'm
second
retired.
Thursday.
Second Thursday, yeah.
All right.
at 6 p.m.?
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
hope so. Yeah. And so would this start next month, Max? Is that the idea?
That's up to all of you. This is something that we can implement once we're actually doing the in-person meetings. So we can certainly start it next month if people would prefer that.
But if it were like tonight and there are applicants and you can't have the room, whether we are in person or not, doesn't matter if there's going to be enough people that are going to want to be there, correct?
Yep, that's fair.
So,
I only knew that this room was going to be available tonight though, because it's
okay.
graduation week. So the fire department wasn't going to use it anyways.
Okay, so I guess my question is, when are we going to, are we still capable to meet with Zoom for the near future, or what's happening along those lines? Anything?
Actually, yes. Quick thing with LD32, and I'll say quick because it is pretty much 7:15 for Jim, but I believe it's passing. And I think the only thing that changes from what we're doing right now is whenever we're doing an actual vote on something, it should be done by roll call vote. I think that's something that actually the state does have now for boards and committees that are vote for people who are meeting remotely. There has to be now like a motion where you're saying so-and-so your say, and then.
Okay, so just visual hand waving isn't gonna pass muster. Got it.
Right. We have to extend these things by like 3 minutes.
Okay.
But that's it. We can still do Zoom. We're good. Just need to do roll call votes.
Yeah. Well, I'll be wrestling with the amount of vaccination and starting to feel comfortable doing stuff. I'll be wrestling with showing up one of these days, but I do find the Zoom awful convenient. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, great.
I'm seeing 7:15. So Jim, do you got to get going?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Oh, that's all right. It's summertime, right? It's busy time.
It is.
So we're gonna go to Thursdays next month or later? What was the final?
I'm might as well just switch right away, I would say, especially if we get applicants and they want to show up, we can have the room. We don't have to change it at the last minute. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Hope the heat breaks tomorrow.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It's supposed to.
All right.
Good.
So second Thursday.
Thank you. Change this in my, do we need a motion to that effect, Max?
Well, we don't have a quorum.
No, you have a quorum still.
You still have a quorum.
You got 4 members.
We have 4 members. We just didn't have 4 members that.
For the minutes.
Right.
I thought you lost your quorum when Jim left.
We lost our quorum for the minutes because I wasn't at the last one, but we still had 4 members, so.
I only see 3. Who's the 4th?
Johnny's
over here.
Oh, Johnny, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, Johnny.
All right. You can do a motion if you want. It's a piece of housekeeping.
I'm not a stickler for that if we don't need it. Okay. Just putting it in my calendar. Before we go to the land use ordinance amendments you've got here I just wanted to thank you, Max, for this. You sent out the links to the U of Maine doc projects. Did everyone on the board get that? Did you send that to everyone?
I don't think I did. I think I only sent it out to the Economic Development Committee, Conservation Commission, and the Select Board, because those were the only groups I brought it up to in past meetings. So I didn't bring anything up to the planning board, but I don't mind talking about that in the comments for planning board member section.
Well, I would let me just throw this out to to Johnny and Jeffrey and Barbara. Max and the town commissioned the University of Maine Civil Engineering Department to do some studies on some of the intersections in town and the flooding on Barbara's Street, Duck Puddle, where it floods, and the parking lot right in downtown there, below where Main Kebab is, that parking lot.
Worcester parking.
And Worcester parking, and a couple of other things, some of the trails and things. And he's got links to these projects that they completed these projects, and they've got designs and analysis and designs and cost estimates that they've provided to the town. And I think that they're really, I wasn't interested in every detail, but I think overall they were very interesting. They were very well done. I think Max did a good job with the projects and helping these kids do these projects. And I was just assuming you guys might want to see those. Would you be interested in?
I want to see the one on my road.
Yeah.
Happen.
And I have a big interest. One of the intersections they looked at was Route 32 and West Main that goes up the hill from downtown to Route 32, which is, sightlines are terrible there. So I've got a vested interest in that intersection since I use it so much. But
hey, you're already lobbying me for that one.
I already lobbying you for that one. But so there's no reason why people can't see those.
Yep, there's no reason that they are held off from people. I only sent it to the committees when I did back in May because I was excited to finally show it to them. I think I briefly talked about it at the Economic Development Committee and the Conservation Commission as well. I haven't done a select board meeting yet just because they've been busy throughout May and because there was a lot more questions going on and I didn't want to throw some more into the fire. But I'm hoping that I can probably go to a select board meeting, hopefully in 2 weeks, to talk about it, or early July. Right. But it's on the town website under the Economic Development Committee, but I will email out links to everyone on the planning board if there's that interest.
Or I could just forward the one.
Oh yeah, you can forward it.
Why don't I do that, Max? So you don't, just another one less thing for you to do.
Yeah, you are in front of a computer right now, so that's fine.
Then I wouldn't be able to see you guys, so I won't do that till later. But great. Okay, so I have a couple of things, but why don't you want to talk about the land use ordinance? Or there was Sincarfa. What else did you want to cover, Max?
I'll do land use ordinance amendments first.
Okay.
This kind of stems off of the shoreland ordinance discussion that we've had previously. So, because I know the main talk that we've been having is commercial or industrial uses in the commercial maritime fisheries activities shoreland zone, which is essentially the Dutch Neck Marine Park and Pine Street Landing. I don't know if there's still more discussion people want to have on that. In looking at the ordinance, it's just determining whether we want commercial activities in the commercial maritime fisheries zone, which when I spoke with, I think it was Colin Clark from the Maine DEP who's involved with shoreland zoning, those activities are ones that do have to show that they are water dependent. They do use the Madomic River essentially to make it work. So, for example, the boat launch is used for commercial activity and recreation, but it's used for commercial activity by clammers and lobstermen and anyone who's using the river for harvesting. So that's the allowed use it uses. And if, I don't know if that's still a discussion we want to keep having, but with everything that's been happening recently, I think it might be a good idea to at least consider some other amendments to the land use ordinance. These were some tweaks that either were looked at by the land use ordinance committee, but it just didn't happen for some reason. I think it was just not that much interest at the time, and it was a bit too controversial, and they thought it would have required having more meetings and having more discussions. And then there's just some items that haven't really become an issue since November. The one that I think everyone knows about is the whole manufactured homes being no more than or needing to be over 750 square feet. That's caused an interesting look. So that's probably an amendment that is being suggested to just reduce that number so that at least you could buy a place from Ralph's Homes and you can move it to Waldoboro. And then there's just some other housekeeping items like for solar, like for the renewable energy structures. I just want to have something for decommissioning plans in there for a specific requirement. I know that in the two that we've already had, they both have pretty much said we're going to do a decommissioning plan, but I want to make sure that that's still in the book just so that it's not forgotten.
Mhm.
And then I think there's just some other housekeeping items like the definitions between large and small campgrounds, put that in the definitions.
Max, remember tiny homes kind of got left out?
Right. And thank you, Barbara. I
Oh,
keep
yeah.
forgetting that. They're so small, I forget them. And tiny homes, putting in something to refer to tiny homes, or at least refer to the state laws that are being passed right now to address tiny homes, which could just be in specific standards, a little blurb saying we follow the state law and put down their most notable items of who to get permits from for those. And
Can you send out us copies of what the state stuff says?
yeah, I will find, I'm trying to think what the one is that is being passed right now. I can't remember the LD right off the hand, but I will send that link out.
So I'd like to hear from any of the board members on this. As long as we have, it doesn't sound like any of these are pressing or large enough to require a separate meeting unless it drags on for so long. If we continue to have meetings as full as the last few, we haven't had a lot of spare time. But I'm fine with taking meeting time if we have it to work on these.
Yeah,
That
what I was,
fair?
yeah, Scott, if you don't mind, what I was hoping I was going to do was, if I have time, I will take the items that and I'm not including the shoreland one because I don't know if that's going to be a different discussion, but I'm at least going to take my suggestions. And I think this is similar to when the medical marijuana dispensary was being removed. I'll just show where in the ordinance these changes would take place.
Mhm.
I'll highlight them, underline, and just show it by the next meeting. This is what I'm proposing. This is what I think can be done, and then we'll have the discussion. Because
Perfect.
what's required for the ordinance is the planning board would say, yes, we're fine with these changes. Then we go to a public hearing, and then we have to go through that whole process. And for such minor changes, we could get this done by the November warrant, depending on the level of discussions we have.
Yep. If you can just give us that, each of the current wordings and what you're proposing for a change, that'll make it, we don't have to wade through it on each of them. That would be great. And if we get stuck on one of them, we could still do the rest. And great.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
If anyone has any changes I don't address and they want to have me put in, just let me know and I'll add it into the checklist.
Okay.
The only other question I have, Max, on some of the stuff that comes in front of us is, and I guess I should know the answer to this question, but a lot of the parking requirements, have a lot of that been fed into the LUA from the state? Like for an apartment building, for instance, or 80 Gray or whatever it is, or a store, a retail store, are all those parking requirements come to us via the state?
I believe those parking spot requirements were suggestions. I don't think it was from DOT, but it was a traffic study, but I will get the source of those.
I mean, across the board. Yeah, I'm just curious.
So what you're asking is what is in our LUO
Right.
for parking requirements? Does that match something that the state has for requirements, or they're just town ones?
Right. Or do we have any leeway with those? I mean,
Right.
Generally, you do have leeway for them. As I say, I think I'm pretty confident that those parking requirements just came from a traffic study and were more suggestions, but on a larger scale. Like, it wasn't someone who came to Waldeboro and made those suggestions. This was someone who looked at these places in general and said, you should have this for retail, this for restaurant, not looking at it as you should have these many because this is what McGreevy's is like, but they probably looked at like
Okay.
Applebee's.
Well, because I think it's important because, for example, if we have an application, if it's not a state requirement, we have an application for something, and because of what they come under, it says 15 parking spaces and they can only fit 14. Theoretically, we could give them a waiver if we chose to do it. We might not choose to do it, but if it was a state minimum, then we wouldn't be able to provide a waiver. That's why it's important.
Okay.
So I think it's sort of similar to this question we just had on, is an easement okay relative to deeding the land, right?
Right.
If we're, it's good to know.
Okay.
So if you could find out, Max, that would be helpful.
All right.
Okay. Max, you had another item, I think. Sincarfa?
Yeah. So, with that one, this is kind of an update with where they're at. So the Road Association for Controversy Lane was formed, and Sincarfa is slowly getting to their conditions before they get to the building permit. There has been a question on I think it was condition 3 for what they have to do to get their building permit. Condition 3 was about fixing the roads to major private street standards. The question is, does that mean they have to fix literally all the roads on controversy in that subdivision before they can get a building permit, since they're only going to be using Controversy Lane as the one access point?
I don't ever remember that word being plural in any of our discussions about Controversy Lane.
So I rewatched the meeting. I actually rewatched the meeting yesterday just to confirm that. And what happened was the attorney for some of the residents sent out a letter, and they wanted it to say all roads. And throughout the meeting, you're right, Scott, throughout the meeting, when you were listening to conditions, you did always say repairs would be made to the road, just the one road, to address the major private street standards. But it wasn't until the very end, the last time you outlined the conditions, that what I saw was, I believe, Jim clarifying if it meant all of the roads. And it was accepted at that point. That would say all roads. So that's where it's now gotten into a question of, does this mean they really do have to fix up all the roads, or if they're fine just fixing Controversy Lane and moving forward? I've told them that that is certainly, now I've spoken with Maine Municipal Association about this, and they said that people can obviously come back to the planning board to amend their site plans and their conditions, but they should come back only if they can really show everything else is being addressed. Specifically all the requirements in our ordinance are addressed. And what I've suggested is that if they do intend on doing that, if this is true clarification they do want addressed by the planning board, they need to really stress why the clarification is needed. And if it's being corrected, that everything else has been addressed at that point, primarily the conditions. And so I haven't heard from them since. Now, the reason I want to talk to the planning board tonight is if I hear from them saying, yep, here's our application, we want to come back to just amend the condition, that one condition.
Yeah.
I don't know if the board wants to hold a regular meeting to address it, or if you believe we may need to do a special meeting just for Controversy Lane, solely because of how the attendance and how long the meeting was back in January. But I also think that, I don't know if that's now something that's, we just have to wait until they actually present it.
Well, I mean, we can't really do anything until they present it. And once they present it, if it really is a single issue item, you know, and if there are other applicants, I wouldn't put it in order of applicants coming in. I would put everyone else first and see how long that one took. If there was a lot that meeting, we might want to have a special one, but I hesitate to just automatically assume we need a special meeting to cover that single amendment. That's my feeling on it. So I was going to ask, because I was curious, so they haven't provided the logistics plan yet that they were going to provide, is that?
I haven't received any of the other items for the condition.
Okay.
They have been working, they and Buddy Brown have been working on fixing the road, and that's what's brought this item up.
Yep.
Because I've done a site walk with them, which was required for that condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for Controversy Lane, but I did receive questions saying, well, you're doing Controversy Lane, but aren't you supposed to be doing all the other ones? Because that's what this says. And
Is that what the motion was plural?
Yep.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yep. And no, and I know, and that's why I had to rewatch the meeting, because I was so unsure why that happened. And it was a mix of things, but that's just a bit of clarification that I think has gone off.
Yep. Okay.
No, that's all I had. I don't have any applicants so far at this time. I haven't received word from anyone that they want to come to the board in July.
Well, we could, if you have that stuff ready on the ordinance changes, we could do that. I did want to mention, so the board is unaware of Sarah has resigned from busy basically.
She's gardening.
Yeah, she's very busy, and I won't say any more than that. That she, anyway, relative to her stress level, but so unfortunately, so we are in need of board members. So
okay,
pick some people and provide leverage, please, if you know anybody. And I think the only other action item that I'm aware of is I need to apparently go to the town hall, and I didn't realize this until I read the minutes that I haven't signed anything in a while, and that I was supposed to go to the town hall to sign stuff, and I have neglected to do that. So I read the minutes the other day and realized that that's what I should be doing. So So I will try to do that, Max, in the next couple of days.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
that's fine. And actually, that reminds me of a quick thing. Because two of the things that were approved today were subdivision related, and they have their own time limit of like 30 days to get registered by Lincoln County Registry of Deeds. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to send out an email to the two people, Gartley Dorsky and Alan Matheson, to get their final documents that'll have your signature, and I'll have to start collecting signatures next week. And that means I might have to just drive around and collect the signatures after work.
Okay.
Because I will need to just get those signatures a lot more timely.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
but if you haven't signed the other ones, I will do what I've usually done, and I will just leave them with Marcus for tomorrow. And you just come on in and say hi to Marcus and ask for the documents, and he'll point and you can find them.
Have I met Marcus?
I feel you have to. Like he's been sitting at the front desk for this whole time. He's the rec director.
Okay.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
he's at the main desk?
Well, yeah.
He's at
When you immediately walk through the double doors and you immediately look right, you'll see Marcus there.
Okay. I haven't been actually physically in the building in quite some time, so apparently I need to do that. Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else for tonight?
I think we're all set.
Jeffrey, Johnny?
Good.
Well, great. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight on a relatively warm and humid summer night. It really does seem like we went right to summer. Does not seem like a normal June at all. So we'll see if we have the heat on the 4th of July like we did 10 years ago, but
Oh dear.
really, anyway. And so thank you to everyone, Susan and Max. Can I have a motion that we adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
Is there a second?
I can second that.
Ronnie was the first, second, Susan, and motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of adjournment, signify aye.
Aye. We have to give